All right, welcome to the True North Bow Hunting Podcast. This will be episode 1. My name is Carson, and I'm your host. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. It really does mean something to me, and I'm very grateful for everyone taking time out of their day to really listen in. This is a very new podcast. It's brand new. My goal in this podcast is whether you've never hunted before or whether you've been a hunter for 20 years, that this podcast can be educational, entertaining, and just something that you'd want to tune into every single week. So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. We had the chance to get Joe Sterba in here on this episode, and it was awesome. A great way to kick off the podcast. It's about an hour and a half long, and I just really hope that you can enjoy it. He did an amazing, phenomenal job, a very intelligent guy you can learn from. But yeah, I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to take 1 second to quickly thank my one sponsor at the moment, DNA Custom Bowstrings, and we talk about it a little bit in the episode. A great guy behind a great business. So thank you, Jason from DNA Custom Bowstrings. Let's get right into it. All right, we're live with episode 1 of the True North Bow Hunting Podcast. I couldn't be more excited. I'm so thrilled, and I've got probably one of the coolest guys I know with me as a guest today.
Oh, man.
Joe Sterba, a certified killer, and it couldn't be more impressive. And then on top of that, he's a public land killer for the majority. And Joe's just one of those guys that, as soon as I met him, I was like, I got to get this guy in my corner. He's just a cool guy. So how you been, Joe?
I've been really well. I'm not sure how to come in after that build-up. Thank you for that, somewhat, maybe some earned, some unearned. So, yeah, just getting through another good summer here in the Midwest. It's been nice weather this week, so that's been positive. But, we're starting to get on closer to that time of year. We're all thinking about getting back out there and hunting deer and things like that, maybe doing a little fishing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. The itch is there for sure. The itch is there. It's starting to come in, and so you're kind of a workhorse. Have you been busy at work?
Oh,
what's
yes.
The thing Clydesdale, is that the word?
Clydesdale, yes.
Yeah,
that is one of my, it's a really busy time of year for us at work. It's primarily ag centered, but then we recently, also added another product line to this local, the business I work at here. And, 50 hours right now is usually about the standard, so it could be a little less, or it could be a little more depending on the week, but just trying to make it happen while we can. And, truthfully, I'd rather work the long hours in the summer mostly than I would work them in the fall.
Yeah, build up that PTO, right?
Yes, let's make it happen now so then we can take some time off.
Yeah, good. And yeah, Joe, I'd love to break into, like I told you a little bit, go back into your childhood and how you got into hunting. But, on top of being a great hunter, I had the privilege to work with your wife actually when I was working at, my last job, and, just even more respect game for you. You're an awesome husband, awesome dad. So how's that been? The kids, how are the kids
doing? Thank you, but the kids are great, just wrapped up baseball and trying to look into what the off-season program looks like for those 3 boys, and then warming up for flag football, and then on into basketball and things like that. So
yeah,
the kids are doing great. They're already talking about wanting to go deer hunting this fall. So
that's awesome.
Seems like I may be a pretty busy guy here in the fall, as there's
right.
There's 3 of them. So
yeah,
it's exciting. I mean, they're all doing well. They love to fish. They love to hunt. A couple of them have got their first turkey here the spring before, and and now they're interested in going out deer hunting. So
yeah.
I'll be definitely looking forward to that. Those are always neat moments when you can be there, with kids when they harvest their first animal, or just in general, just being out there. So
yeah.
These
flies are driving us nuts in here. Sorry about that, Joe.
That's okay.
So actually I'd love to talk about that. So was it Cameron?
Camden, yeah.
Camden, sorry.
Yep,
I'm terrible with names. So Camden was your oldest.
He is. Yep.
And tell me about that.
He just got his first tom here this spring.
Yeah.
So that's pretty great. And that was actually on one of my public spots that I've hunted at through the years and had some success. And the thing with that spot is it's a mile from the truck, and then the last probably 300-400 yards is just up a up a steep incline. So you're pretty much on all fours going up. We did that in the dark, and then as daylight started breaking, the birds sounded off, and they were really close to us, and we never even got to where we were going. It's really neat. We were able just to sit down, and I made a 3-note yelp, which is something, right? I used to overcall so much, man. But, listening to a few different, guys that are really good at getting it done in the turkey woods, sometimes less is more. And so this time I thought, you know what, these guys are close, just a little 3-note yelp. And they immediately flew down. My son, who'd really had just started using a gun, the shotgun without any assistance, right? As far as there's no vise, there's nothing, there's no shooting sticks.
Yeah.
And he got the gun shouldered. He had the red dot turned on, and he made a great shot, and he rolled that turkey at about 25 yards.
So was that his first harvest?
He has killed a Jake before.
Okay.
So, yep, he harvested a Jake the year before, which was amazing, his first bird. A wild turkey is a wild turkey.
Yeah.
But it was neat this year just because the place that we were hunting is somewhere that his dad has put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in. Had some great successes and some devastating defeats. So it was neat for me to go in there and help get him one. And then I like to joke with him because I was unable to get one in that same spot the remainder of the season. So I gave him a hard time and told him that he shot out all my turkeys. But it was a really neat thing, and now that fan and beard and all that good jazz is up on the wall in his room.
That's so special.
Exciting,
That's so special. I can't even imagine, one of my biggest passions in life is, this hunting thing, but also someday becoming a father myself.
Yes.
And I can't
it's the
imagine,
best, man.
I can't imagine how proud you had to be.
You're just so excited.
Yeah.
You're so excited for him. It's just, in any kid, it's the same thing, when see them catch their first good fish, or, it's there's something special about firsts, especially when it comes to things in the outdoors, and seeing him really just try to, he couldn't lift it, right? It was a bigger bird, but seeing him try to lift that turkey, and then just kind of the gravity of that hit him that, this is a big turkey, and just a really neat feeling. He teared up, and he was just so joyful about it. And, so that's something, right, that I hope he carries with him forever, and I definitely will. So
yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. So before I go into this next section, I'm going to go to my car and grab some bug spray, dude.
Okay, no problem.
Let me just cut this out.
Yeah, well, it is your podcast, so.
Okay, so that's super special. Talking about moving your son into the hunting world.
Yeah,
as well.
it's great, man. Yeah. It's the best. I'll be excited for you whenever it's your turn and your journey. Your time to start that journey, and it's just a really neat process altogether.
I burnt I spent I think 220 hours is kind of what I totaled up hunting in total, just deer hunting this fall. And I think I burnt my girlfriend and my family out pretty hard.
Yeah,
and,
I bet you did.
When turkey season came around, it was time to start, contributing around the house and,
sure,
making sure my girlfriend didn't want to cut my throat. And next turkey season for sure. Maybe we can just get it done the first week of October this year, and then and I'll have plenty of juice for turkeys left in me. So
yeah, you definitely need to bank those hours up.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. Oh yeah, one thing I was going to ask you about your kids. How do you treat this hunting thing towards them? Because I know that my family doesn't hunt at all. I went into this thing on my own by myself. I really didn't even have friends that did it. I just kind of decided to do it on my own.
Which is awesome. It's hard to get started in hunting, without some sort of a mentor, or it's easier now, right, with all the information online. But
yeah, my mentor is YouTube. Yeah, yeah,
that's great.
But yeah, I guess what I was kind of going to ask you is was this ever a, hey, boys, we're going to go hunting today? Or is it hey, I'm going hunting, you want to tag along? Do you kind of push them into it, or do you just...
Yeah, I've always told, I tell my wife that, I'm not going to force the kids to be really into things that I'm into. And I tell them the same thing with sports, or whatever it is. If they feel that it's not their thing, especially if they try it once, you know what? That's okay. From a young age, though, we were going out fishing, or, we'd be going for hikes, and, and then, maybe they didn't have a chance, I guess, in some way, because whenever I would bring home an animal, right, like I'd get a deer harvest or a turkey, big fish, whatever it was, for me, what's a big fish, right? But
Yeah.
I'd bring it home and it was like a celebration. I back the truck in, the whole family piles out, everybody wants to check it out, and high fives all the way around, and taking pictures, and wow, that's the biggest animal I've ever seen. Even if to me, I'm like, that is not that big of an animal,
Yeah.
right? But to them, if you're 2, 3, 4, it's a monster.
Yeah.
So, ever since they were, my second son, I shot a really nice 8-pointer off public the day after I brought him home from the hospital. Which
That's
may or may not have
awesome,
scored
man.
me very many brownie points. That probably wasn't so good.
Yeah.
But so they've just grown up around, in the fall, the fall and the spring. Well, Dad's hunting. Oh, and it's, well, did you get anything today? Some days it's so hard, you walk back in. No, I didn't, and they're like, well, why not, and you're like, oh, man. But I just think they've grown up around it, and then they have that interest. I've never forced any of them to go hunting. They just have really been on me about doing it. And, certainly while it is a lot of pressure and some work, it's like I love taking them out there. So it's kind of happened organically that they've gotten into it.
Yeah.
Just from seeing my successes and also my failures. I definitely tell them about those too. I'm like, oh, I missed a big one today, or,
Well, it's real, yeah.
It is real.
That's what hunting is.
Yes. And I don't want to, that's one thing, right? You see on our social medias and stuff, you really only ever see when people have the success. And, it's hard to see that behind that is like, this guy actually hunted 13 days without seeing anything. Or, so-and-so missed a big bird or a big buck like the day before he got this one. And so I'm pretty open with them about that stuff. And I just tell them that time and patience is what gets animals in the freezer.
Yeah.
So they've been understanding of that. Sometimes my one son, he hunted for 2 entire turkey seasons. He probably hunted 35 hours, and he never got a bird even close to gun range. And he was very frustrated about it, but then he persevered, and what do you know?
Yeah.
He just kept going. So
And it just makes it all that more special when it happens.
it does, man.
So-
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just think they grew up around it. I really didn't. And I just kind of got into it, due to some family members, some maybe not immediate, but some other people, some acquaintances, and then things just kind of, snowballed from there. And now I'm like, oh man, I'm an addict, to it on some level.
Right there with you, brother.
So
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Right there with you. Yeah. Tell me about that a little bit. Like what? I know the exact moment that I was like,
Oh,
I'm going to
really?
be chasing whitetails the rest of my life. Like what happened for you? Was it just kind of like you said, a snowball that just like...
Yeah, I remember I was 15 years old, I think it was, and I was over at my uncle's house. He lived in northern Iowa, and he was a guide in Alaska for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he also flew the Civil Air Patrol and helped people, the float planes and all that good jazz.
Nice, yeah.
And so I went up there, and he always had so many mounts all around his house, right? Like everything you could think of. Really neat. And then the one time he just asked me, he said, hey, do you want to go deer hunting this year? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So then I set about trying to get a muzzle loader, and the one I got was complete garbage. First generation CVA, so not so good. But
Okay.
CVA is an awesome brand now. I'm not knocking them, but originally it was a tough sell.
Yeah.
But then I went up there, and he had some properties that he hunted, and we went out a couple of times. And because I was hunting nearby him, he put me in these stands. Well, deer would come by, and I wouldn't shoot. But because I knew he was nearby, and they weren't big antlered deer.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I can't do that. This guy, he's expecting all this, and
Yeah.
But he told me, he said, hey, the next time, like, you're going home after that, so you have to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Well, sure enough, I sat there. There were 7 deer that came by, and then there was one with what I judged to be, at 15, having no knowledge, a pretty big rack.
Yeah.
So I just put crosshairs on there, squeeze, pull the trigger, and smoke clears, and there was a deer on the ground. It turned out to be a 14-pointer.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so that was my
Holy
first
cow.
deer. So
Did you ever measure him out?
No.
No,
Nope,
yeah.
I have not.
Yeah.
I guessed him. I mean, he's non-typical, but
Yeah.
I guessed him probably like 130s plus,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
But still, you know,
Really neat deer.
it's a great for your
Yes,
first.
he had
Absolutely.
crab
It's a great in
claws.
general, you know.
Yes.
Having a deer
It kind of
to mess.
spoiled me, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had that experience. It was awesome, you know, just hooked. And then, you know, from there I thought, well, this is easy. I'm going to do it all the time. Right? And so I went for 2 or 3 seasons with nothing. I couldn't even get on a deer. I couldn't get close to a deer. I didn't know what to look for. And you know, I was hunting public and I'm like, there's no animals here. And right, I'd call him and I'd be so frustrated. And he's like, well, you need to be by where they sleep or where they eat.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I don't know what those things are, you know. So
Yeah.
a lot of good experiences falling in creeks, hunting late season muzzleloader, not seeing any animals, and just trying to figure out, you know, it's like anybody, right? You're hunting, it's like even a sport, right? You're struggling, and then you break through, right? And then things start happening.
Yeah.
But those first couple of years, I remember thinking, man, how in the heck, you know, like I just waxed this big deer and now I can't even see one, you know. It's because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. And then, you know, there was a period in there, I think, when I was in the military where I took a couple years off from hunting. But other than that, I think I've really hunted, you know, every fall since then. You know, now I've gotten into some other things like little pheasant hunting and waterfowl or fall turkey as well. But yeah.
Cool. So, what was the moment, like, when was the turnaround for you to decide, like, I'm going to be this badass public guy?
I think it's when I started bow hunting.
Okay.
You know, I really didn't start bow hunting until about 2011, maybe. You know, I worked with a guy, and he was a big bow hunter, and he kept bothering me about it. And I said, you know, I just muzzle load. And he's like, well, you're really missing out because you're really into hunting, whatever. This led to that. I ended up getting a bow. Well, that same season, then I shot my first deer at about 5 or 6 steps, I think, from the ground.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was so amazing. Just like a 2-year-old doe, something like a good shot, like a through and through, you know, on the lungs. And I just thought, this is incredible, you know. And so, well, then at that point, I'm like, well, I need to be all in. So then I'm like, well, I want to get in, you know, I want to get nice bucks. And then I just started on this journey of like venturing farther from the parking lot, right? Like every public spot, right? There's roads, there's parking lots, and, you know, years of your hunts just being blown up by, you know, hikers and people with dogs. And then it would drive me to, you know, Dan Infalt, right, on the Hunting Beast Forum.
Yeah.
I've read so much about what he's done. He, you know, he's from Wisconsin. And they have even more pressure there than we do here in Iowa on public. But
I talked to some Wisconsin. So I did an ASA shoot, which is just it's a competition with your bow.
Oh, nice, nice.
In the very most northern side of Iowa, and it was like mostly Wisconsin guys there, and they were telling me that like the Orange Army is ridiculous up there.
That's what I see.
And
I see that as well.
It's
yeah,
terrible. Like they just party hunt everything. Just destroy the land up there.
Yeah.
And
it looks pretty wild from what I can see.
I've heard about it from some guys.
Yeah.
But
So I would read and listen to this guy, and you know, it's not like he's some, you know, polished elder statesman of this and that and whatever. He's just, you know, a freaking ninja at getting big bucks down on public. And so I'm like, well, I need to figure this out, you know. So I kept reading and trying things, right? You get busted, it doesn't work. And then just over time, I figured out, you know, some things that really helped me be able to get, you know, mobile stands, right? Some lone wolf climber, things like that. Lone wolf, you know, the stand with the sticks and all that. Mm-hmm. And it really helped me, you know, while the drag out was super painful. You know, and it's hard, you know, being far back when you know you have a 20-minute climb down and put all your stuff away, and then you're 45 minutes to an hour from the truck, and then you're driving an hour home.
Yeah.
So it's hard then when you're getting up and going to work at 6 at the factory, you know. So, but in those early years, right, I didn't really have the kids at that point, so it was like all systems go, even to my no detriment of my marriage, I'm sure at some point. But yeah, man. So it's just a process, and then the more I did it, you know, even though it's painful, right? Like sometimes it's hard. like you just don't want to do it anymore. You get pissed or frustrated, whatever. But it's just seeing that arrow hit where you aimed after, you played the wind right, you're in the right spot. An animal that's 3.5 to 4.5 or whatever years old is in front of you. It doesn't know you're there, and it's on public. That's kind of intoxicating to me.
To me, if I didn't know any better, Joe, I'd say you're maybe a bit of an adrenaline junkie.
It is amazing.
I bow hunt for many reasons, but one of the reasons is it makes me feel like I'm earning the animal.
Yes, agreed.
And I would say that you are doing that to the fullest extent you literally can. Like unless you're using a knife. I can't think of more.
I wasn't shooting a recurve or something like that. So I definitely give those guys their due. Those guys are amazing. There's a couple that I know and follow, and it's like, man, the stuff you're doing is next level.
Yeah.
But. And there's, people hunting private and public that are, they're just machines. So I definitely give folks their props, But for me, it's like just something about that when I'm like, anybody, because we all have those friends, right? Well, there's no good deer where I hunt. If I hunted where you hunted, and I think you could hunt where I hunt.
Yep.
So,
and even
that's always fun.
And I love it. I love, this is my, you ask anybody I know, I wouldn't be starting a podcast. That's just not me. I'm in love with this. This is my passion. This is my NFL.
Respect, man.
If I wanted to make it, this is what I do. But I don't know if you'd catch me doing that night in, night out.
Yeah.
Hiking a mile, 2-3 miles to get into this. It's a different level of hard, and you have to really commit. I remember, even this season starting to doubt myself and want to give up, and my access was a 5-minute walk, and it was
that's awesome.
It was easy as can be, and it's
God bless you.
It's just the hunting itself is hard enough, but
it does get hard.
It's just wow, it's what makes it even more impressive. Is and
there's people that are doing that, and it's neat. Sometimes you'll bump into them, and you can have some neat conversations with folks, and most of the people I found that I run into on public for, 85% of them are awesome folks, and you can share some stories. And, I've even been able to give people hey, just so you know, I'm done, but I saw that this, or, people have given me some good feedback about this, that, and the other thing. But I do like how it's a community, but I also can have that same community too. I feel like, with people that are hunting their butts off on private as well, trying to do everything they can, to get good deer down. And time on the stand is time on the stand.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fence line.
Yeah.
So.
Unless it's a high fence line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's one of the things that I've seen, with doing this stuff, I'm very involved in the social media area. And, it's my responsibility almost, if I want to grow this in any way, to study what other people are doing. And, in my opinion, the hunting community is the coolest community that there is. There's a lot of amazing, really cool people, but then on top of that, you've got, I feel like you see it more and more as time goes on, is the haters that are just hating on everything. You can't say anything without getting hit.
There's definitely some divisions.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I don't know. That's just, if I could change one thing, it'd just be we're all doing the same thing. We're all doing something that's really cool, out just admiring God's creation and putting food on the table for us.
I agree, man, and that's the best. No food tastes better than the food that you brought home from Mother Nature.
That's
Nature's
right.
Grocery store, it's always open.
I don't know if I've ever felt more patriotic than, the first time I bit into my deer sticks. It was pretty good.
Yes.
You taste every hour you put into that, so.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So now, picked your brain apart on why you've gotten into some of these things. And, one of the things I'd love to soak out of you as far as, tapping into your brain on this stuff is with all this experience, ask you, what I labeled on my notes is the juice. Some of the things I have down here are, summer scouting and, what are you looking for on public land and all these different things. I guess we can break into that first, when it comes to summer, when you're getting ready, your preseason is going to look very different than mine is, as far as having private land and doing all these different things. If I was hunting public, I don't know if I'd trust to leave cell cameras out there, or if I'd be putting,
Well, now you can even in Iowa on public.
You can't?
You cannot.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, it's a very different game strategy than someone like myself would be hunting. So I'm just really interested.
Fair.
Like,
It's totally fair.
What are you looking for so far as just summer scouting goes?
Yeah, for me, I want to see. So, and this is not a news flash to anybody that's ever hunted any kind of public, but so because I will never hunt a field edge on public land, I won't ever do it.
Okay.
Because that is right. If you're a public land hunter, right, or any hunter, right, your first thing is you want to get away from pressure.
Yeah.
From other people's pressure. Sure, you're trying to hunt the animal. I do the same thing with turkeys, right? But in reality, you're also trying to have your own hunt.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll never hunt a field edge. But what I do is I will walk field edges, find trails, right, to the food source.
Yep.
And then when in the summertime, I'll just stomp right back into bedding. I'll walk all through that. I'll look for, generally though too, in March, I would have been out and seen where scrapes, rubs, and things like that were made last rut, right? So then in the summertime, I also will walk through there. I look at, how many deer I gauge to be used in that area. I try to get visuals from the road at dusk when they're coming out because I'll never hunt that spot. But what I will do is then if I can find beds, I'll try to get back however far that may be, right, between the bed and the food. So that's always been my main goal.
Yeah.
Especially early season, it's like, right. Cause it's more of about feeding, right. October or whatever until near the end of it. But so I'll always I try to backtrack, and if I can, I'll try to find entire areas that are maybe like they're small clear cuts, like what I would call like a kill plot, what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly
It's like just smaller areas, because there are those areas that you can see a lot of times on Onyx even where, this public area is so massive. Oh yeah, but if you just try to section that off, and then if you really drill down, sometimes you can see small openings, and deer will use those.
Yeah.
So then, my goal has always been if I'm going to evening hunt, right, I want to try to be back in there as close as I can be to bedding without blowing those deer out. I will never wait on a ag food source ever. I will always be, if I can get to 50 yards within a bedded deer, that's what I would try to do. I've blown deer doing that.
It's tough.
And I've nailed them doing that.
Yeah.
So sometimes it works out. Sometimes the wind will change on you when you're already up in the tree. You've packed your way in there. You've climbed up the tree, and then the wind switches. But yeah, so that's my goal in the summer. And really too, I will always try to pick out, like I'll find a couple of properties that I'm like, I've never been here. Maybe this one's an hour from home, or, I'm always looking for something that maybe right far away from bigger cities. And like if there's ugly terrain in it, I'm interested in that because that deters people, right? Because it sucks. It's painful. So water, steep hills, really thick, nasty stuff.
That's where they live, though.
It is. Yeah. It sure is. Yep. Because they know that they're pretty safe in there. For you to get to them, you got to make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll always try to pick out a couple of new spots, walk around, explore those areas, kind of just get a lay of the land. And then occasionally, right, when season comes, I'll have made some notes. And there might be days, because sometimes I just like to throw a dart and I will drop a pin and I'm like, I've been in there before, and I'll hike in there at like 4 a.m. Yeah. Right? And then I'll just hang my stand on a tree that I checked out 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Just sometimes it's almost like an observation, but it's in like a heavily used area. That's always the goal. Yeah. Because the first time you hunt a spot is the best time that you'll ever hunt it.
Yeah.
Right? Because after that, right, you leave your scent and stuff like that. Scent lock or no scent lock, if you believe in that or not. I really don't use it. But I just think, deer know when you've been there. Yeah. And so it takes some time for them to be like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got two quick things for you. So I've got a buddy that's literally like just bought a bow maybe a month ago.
Awesome.
And I've gotten him into it. He's super excited, and that's one of the things I've told him is like, I want you to imagine before every hunt that you jump into a pool of shit. And like you are gonna leave that shit everywhere. You are gonna be covered in it. You stink. Like no matter what you do to your body, I think I read this somewhere. It might not be true, but a deer's nose is like 10,000 times stronger than a dog's. And it's like there's no scent control you're gonna do to actually proof yourself.
Correct.
So
yeah, I mean, it's in the oils in
yeah,
our skin.
Yeah, play
Yep.
the winds, watch where you walk.
Correct.
Because no matter what, like for us, if you left, shit everywhere, you would be able to tell, right? Like
For sure.
I told him like when you're in the tree stand, like if you're in that tree stand every single night, you're just rubbing it all over.
For sure.
Like they
yeah.
know you're there.
The more you hunt a spot, the worse it gets. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've done it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've totally just
We're all
burned
guilty of
spots.
it, yeah.
And every time that I would hunt, I'm like, oh, I saw less deer.
Yeah.
Next time, I saw less deer. And then pretty soon, it's like one lonely fork,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, man, And then later, it's like, I actually was just ruining that spot,
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. And then, so the other thing I want to ask you is, you talked about doing like your tree stands, your climber sticks. So are you doing like hang-ons or are you a
Yes.
saddle guy? Okay, you're a hang-on.
Hang-ons.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'm not a fan of the saddles. What do you think about them?
I think it seems awesome.
Yeah.
I know a couple people. It's awesome for the folks that do it. I don't have anything against them.
Yeah.
I've never tried one. I know there's a couple guys. One guy that I worked with before, Matt. He's an awesome dude. He's also he's a great deer hunter, and he switched over to a saddle and he loves it.
Yeah.
I'm just used to having like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old fashioned. Maybe I should try it, but I'm
Yeah.
just used to having those hang-ons.
I'm kind of the same way too. It's the point that like when I'm in a tree stand, I want to be thinking about one thing, and it's deer. And it's like if I gotta, dink around with knots and hooks and ties and all these things and worried about, oh, did I set this right? And now do I gotta pop my hips back and swing around the tree? I'm like, I want to stand and look around and shoot my deer. I have nothing against those guys.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
personal preference. I don't like it, but that doesn't mean like, oh, if you do it, you're.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, that guy's gay for
Yeah.
whatever.
There's like some, I mean, and there's some people, right, that are super hardcore on both sides of it. And I'm like, I think it could be fine. I'm
Yeah.
just not into it, but
I'm open to it.
But I've
I
also
think it's
never
cool.
tried
Yeah.
it, you know,
Exactly.
so.
I just don't find a reason. And to get into it, a decent setup, you're looking at,
oh yeah.
a pretty penny. A pretty
Same
penny.
as your, the same as your nice hang-ons, and those
Yeah.
keep getting lighter and lighter, and down, and now you're down to like 10-pound hang-on stands even that you can put
Yeah.
on your back. So
Yeah.
right. I mean, things just keep advancing,
Yeah.
but it's like, But then, right, if you're going the saddle way, I mean, you're still going to be packing stuff.
Yeah.
You're still going to have steps and
Yeah.
all that good
Yep.
jazz. So.
Yeah. So I think, I get lucky enough if I'm on private. The only reason I wouldn't even like want to hunt public is just because I'm such a control freak.
Oh, really?
Like I just like you. Like I would
Yeah.
never want to hunt a field edge. Like I want to be able to hunt a field edge if I want to. And
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to be like, oh, I boogered that up. That's on me. But like some, whatever guy making whatever mistake, that would frustrate me. I want
There's
it to
a
be
few,
in
yeah.
my hands. So what's nice, I actually made a really good deal this year. I got 4 hang-on stands with 3 sticks each, and I was gonna pay the guy. He said $80 for all of it. And
Woo.
I was like, wow. And then my
Yes,
graduation
please.
my graduation came around, and I won't say his name just because I didn't
Sure.
ask him beforehand, but he was like, dude, graduation gift. So he
Wow.
gave me like it was such a steal. And
That's
what's
amazing.
Nice, what's nice about those is I set them. I do my preseason scouting. I set them, and I might move them once, but
I think it's great that
They're there,
I had to hang and leave too. If I,
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have some permanence, and then you can always have a hang on, like in this scenario where you're like, I just saw this hot sign and I need to go hunt that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the other thing, right? It's really just about like reacting to to the conditions, right? And sometimes things can change, and you're like, this is now the area, this ridge, this saddle, this deer is now here, and I need to go hunt it right now.
Yeah.
So in those scenarios, it's nice to have a mobile, right? But I think it's also great. Like I would 100%, have permanence out there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
That's where I was hunting.
And you feel
so.
comfortable leaving those out there on public?
No,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
No, but
I
that's
couldn't.
also because I've had a few things
Yeah.
stolen.
That's
but-
another reason I, could never
but
do it.
if I was hunting private, I'd definitely have some
yeah,
permanent.
okay.
I've left a couple way back there
Yeah.
where I knew like this is so awful to get here. I'm going to come back in the morning
Yeah.
and I know it'll be here.
Yeah.
But generally, right, I'll pack them out.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So, before this episode comes out, you sent me a ton of like just awesome pictures. That made my day. That was such a fun thing. If you're all right with it on Instagram, Facebook, I'll put
Sure.
out all those pictures. But hey, I had a great guest today.
yeah, man, you can throw a few out there, no problem.
Yeah. And you guys will be able to see then when you see those pictures, like this guy's consistently killing big deer on mostly public land. And I was kind of wondering, like, when it comes to even, you know, finding bedding areas or food, like, is there anything that you see happening over and over and over, anything repetitive that you're like, when I kill these older, mature deer on public land, this is something I'm seeing regularly?
For me, I try to target natural funnels, right? So
Yeah.
anything that would choke down deer activity, creeks, you know, fence lines, ridge tops where it squeezes down maybe to like a 30 or 40 yard area. And, you know, I hunt without cameras. So the deer that I have shot, most of them, not all, some I've seen before, but most of them it's the first time I've ever seen them.
That's insane to me. Yeah.
I'm just hunting that area because I see the sign, I see rubs, scrapes, and lots of deer trails, and I know, okay, this is being used right now heavily, right? And you can, especially when you get closer to November, you can start smelling even those scrapes.
Yeah.
I mean, they smell. You can smell it from a ways, so you're like, well, this is fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, my biggest thing that I feel like has never steered me wrong, you know, because, maybe I'm hunting probably a different class of animal, I guess, you know, because my goal is always a 3.5 or 4.5-year-old deer, like a good representative adult animal for that area.
Yeah.
Like that's always the goal for me. But I've always had good luck finding those pinch points. A couple times I've been able to set up on areas where I knew, just generally speaking, that I've seen good bucks over years. Because some of these spots now I've hunted them for 10 to 15 years, so I know some areas just produce good deer.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of those I've never been able to get an arrow or a muzzle or projectile into, but some I have, right? So,
Yeah.
But it's really about the pinch points for me. Like that's because otherwise it's too vast, right? Because if I look at a 400, 500, 1,000, right, acre property, which, you know, there's not that many in Iowa because we're one of the lowest states in the United States for public land percentage.
Yeah.
But when you look at that, it's like, well, they could be anywhere, and that's true. That's also why I try to steer away from fields. I'll just look for areas where I'm like, if I'm going to rut hunt it, I'm thinking this is going to be a high traffic area. Well, then, of course, I try to go in and validate with on-the-ground scouting. And if I'm just trying to get it either before rut or post-rut, I'm always looking for those funnels, man.
Yeah.
Anything where it's like there's a crossing, there's a creek here that borders a ravine, something where I know that they're going to have to take an area that's less than 100 yards to get through there.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, you pick your spots depending on the wind, cold front, you know the drill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, like, I just try to keep it simple. I've really screwed myself in the past by, you know, all these, you know, there's a lot of info on the internet, right? Well-intentioned folks, good people. But some of that, it's like you have to hunt your hunt.
Yeah,
and if those conditions don't apply to you, you can't hunt them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I used to get so screwed up. You know, I'd watch this latest video about, you know, getting big bucks and this and that, and I'd go out and try to do those things, and I'm like, well, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, you're not hunting according to the area that you're hunting in. You're trying to hunt this guy's hunt, and he's hunting differently. So that was a good learning experience in itself. But that's what I'll always try to do, is I look for thick areas that are beds, and then I look for natural funnels closely located to them.
Yeah.
And that is deadly to me.
Yeah.
I don't know anything that's better than that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if I was sitting out on food late season, you know, that's hard to beat as well. But I just mean for, like, you know, late October, November hunting, that's where it's at for me.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Love to hear it. Okay. Yeah. Actually, this is actually a really great thing to talk about. You've actually moved into this a little bit with what you were talking about as well. But, you know, with summer scouting, you know, you're probably aware of who the jury guys are, right? The juries?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the juries,
yeah, of course. Yep.
Most guys your age, like, grew
Southern
up
Iowa,
in
Missouri,
the
absolutely.
juries, yeah.
Over in Illinois,
I actually have a
absolutely.
really cool story about
Oh, really?
where they are every once in a while that I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay.
But so they actually have created an app called DeerCast.
Yes. I've
yeah.
heard of that.
Yeah.
I actually downloaded it a couple of times, and I just ended up just sticking with Onyx.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I've heard quite a bit about it.
Yeah, so I'm like infatuated with this thing. Like,
Oh,
it is
really?
so cool to me.
I've heard it could be pretty useful.
It's very intriguing for sure. It's very interesting, and I haven't had the chance to use it yet. I got put onto it by my favorite podcast, Working Class Bow Hunter. They're
Working
awesome.
class.
And they talked about it, so I was like, I gotta buy it. It's like $40 a year or something like that.
Oh, that's not bad.
And it uses 13 different weather variables to tell you, if it's good, fair, great, bad, deer conditions for deer movement. And that is very interesting to me. That's cool. But what's even more interesting to me is that they have these kind of sectioned off times throughout each month. Like that there's different phases. That's the word I'm looking for. These flies, man. Phases as far as, deer movement, what deer are doing. And I think there's 13 of those as well.
Oh,
and,
wow.
But most of them can generally be categorized into I would say 4. You've got your early season. You've got your October that they're doing whatever. Late October, they're going to be moving into, it's just a blend to the rut.
Right.
And then you've got the rut. And then after you got post rut. And then really most of late season's the same thing. They're laying down, they're going up, and they're getting food. But as far as public hunting goes, is there a lot of adapting you have to do to those phases? Like you've got to go, okay, I know deer are going to be moving here, but now it's the rut. So do I need to be closer to bedding, closer to food? Do I need to be closer to water? What are you hunting per phase? You know what I mean?
That's a great question. So for me, when it comes into it's primetime rut, I will try to be in areas that I know it's if I can get close to bedding and there's like deer highway, I'll hunt it 100%. I like to be. It's not that I won't hunt the thickets, the thick stuff in the rut, but I like to be in a little bit open areas because I also just like to watch deer
where they can run
and
around.
I just
chase
like
each
seeing
other.
multiple bucks just chasing does, and it's a really neat thing. But if I can get like a main highway that is 30 to 40 to 50 yards from a bed, I love going in there mid-morning, right? Like after the morning, so I'll get in there and then I'll just hunt until dark.
Yeah, wow.
Or I'll do it the other way, right? I'll go in there in the middle of the night in the rut. A lot of times you'll just blow them out because it's all night, all day sometimes, right? But it's crazy because I've busted so many deer, right? Because I got to get in there somehow, right? There's usually only one access point.
That's when you can get away with it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then that same deer will come by later. It's just wild, you know. In the rut, you can get away with stuff. But yeah, I typically will like to be still kind of if I can get. If there's a ridge top or something that's getting hit really hard. But I also try to rely on historical data. So what have I seen here before, right? Because at this point, right, like 12, 15 years. So chances are good that I've hunted this area before at the same time period. And what was, and there's a couple little journals I might keep or something that, hey, this day I saw this, this, and this, wind direction of this. But I
want to hit that for a second. That is such a powerful tool that I wish I would have incorporated last year. Instead, I've got a couple just like, oh my gosh, check this shit out, on Snapchat.
Well, it's hard, when you're just getting going, you're just pumped to be there,
But the more I look into it, for new hunters, for even old hunters, like that's something that, I've heard over and over from the best hunters that there are is like, historical data is your best friend.
It really is.
Yeah. So
even when the animals change, right? There's patterns.
Yeah.
So I like to be in high traffic areas, and if I can get close to a bed doing that, awesome. Because I do like to call a little bit.
Okay.
I do.
What do you call with?
I use it's actually pretty awesome for me anyway. Yeah. My uncle who kind of he brought me into hunting. He's since passed away some years ago. I think it was 2007. But he had turned into a big stick bow hunter. He hunted with the recurve and then just longbow, all kinds of good jazz. But he had a nice little 8-pointer that he shaved the points off of.
Okay.
And then he used that to rattle. And I have that same set of antlers.
Wow, that's
so what I like to do occasionally. I don't hit them all the time. I'm not out there like. Yeah, it's funny what you hear people do in the public woods, but
Yeah.
I'm not out there like
You're
every
rattling each
5
other
minutes
back and
just
forth.
smoking them, you know. But there have been times, there was a time even, I don't know, 5 years ago, I saw a deer cruising on a ridge above me, and I grunted at him, and he stopped, and then he kept rolling through. So I grabbed those antlers, and I was hunting from the ground because I didn't want to carry my stand that day because of how far back I was.
Yeah.
And I sat down on my butt, and I started kicking and breaking every stick, moving every leaf that I could. I had the grunt tube in my mouth, and I was rattling at the same time.
You're doing the whole Shazam,
Yep.
dude.
I snapped. I was kicking trees, and I quick had to throw down everything I had because the sound of him running to me was overpowering the sound of my antlers in my hand.
Wow.
So I picked up my bow, which is a lot like your bow you got sitting here. I think it was a Halon 32.
Oh,
But,
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, original, right? But,
Yeah.
And I shot that dude at, I don't know, 12, 15 yards. And he was just standing there broadside staring right at me.
Oh,
he
my.
was ready to go, like steam, like the whole deal. Like I was, so anyway, so I do like to call a little bit if I can get to an area that I'm like, if I'm seeing a lot of does, that makes I can be slightly more aggressive. Like I don't call like I call turkeys.
Yeah.
Right? Because turkey hunting, I'm like, it's a little bit of a participation sport, so I like to call a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if I'm seeing a lot of does and like there's good activity like bucks and a lot of does, a lot of bucks, right? Like just, good deer activity.
You can get away with it.
I think so because they're like, well, hey, man.
Yeah.
I said a lot of does. I meant a lot of bucks and very few does, right? Because then there's more competition.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I do like to call a little bit and, in those open areas, then I feel like otherwise, maybe once an hour, I'll make a little grunt or, maybe twice the whole morning I'll do a little rattle sequence or something like that.
And is that just, that little early chunk, is that the rut in November?
That's in November.
Yeah, okay.
I might could do it like the last few days of October if I'm seeing like fighting, if I'm seeing good sparring and stuff in that area. Because I do feel like that ruts are localized. I've hunted one day in one county and I've seen deer fighting and chasing and doing a lot of the stuff like it was, November 7th.
Yeah.
And then I hunted a different county the next day and you'll see, bucks walk by each other. They just have their heads hung and it's up, bro. And, does are just off by themselves. They haven't been signaled out yet. And, the fawns are still with them and stuff like that. So I think that a lot of times it's like, what's happening on the ground where you're hunting today? You got to stay water, you got to stay fluid, and just try to adjust to those conditions. But all that said, I certainly have boogered it up many times trying to learn now is a good time. It's like anything, there's a way to get animals shot, that moment of truth when you pull or you don't pull, and so it's kind of just learning that like now is a good time to do this. It's hard to explain to somebody. That's why I couldn't have it explained to me. I just had to learn by failing.
That's the best way. That's the only way to really learn, right?
Of which I did a lot,
But. Yeah. As far as calling goes, I tried to call one time this year and I never did it again. I felt so dumb.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was up in his tree stand and I was hunting this pretty good deer that I am probably going to jinx myself, but I'm confident that he'll be back this year.
Nice.
And it's going to be impressive.
Yeah.
If he grows from what he was last year.
So did you try calling to him?
Easily the biggest deer I saw. And so I was actually hunting a property that was like 2 acres.
Perfect.
And
small properties are the best.
And I ended up moving the next property over, which is like 4 acres. And it's just a little down by a creek bed. And I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. The wrong place at the right time, actually. And, a ways away, 120 yards through all these different trees. I'm bow hunting. I'm not even going to try that. But I saw this very, very healthy 12-point typical deer.
Bruiser.
Oh, yeah. Like,
good.
Probably, if I'm being generous on the low side, he's definitely touching 60.
Woo.
Yeah, he's a big deer. And I see him walk out, and I'm already frozen, and I know he can't see me. I'm terrified already. And
isn't that cool, the feeling they give you?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had a set of antlers hung up on the tree, and I watch him walk out into this field, and he's probably 150 yards away at this point, way out, open field. Just in the light of day you can see him, and I'm tucked back in trees. I knew he couldn't see me, and I just start hammering these antlers. And I know he can hear me because I can hear it echoing off the ridge that's like 300 yards away, you know? Like, I know he can hear me, and he's just doing nothing. And then I'm like, all right, I better, like, turn this up. Like, maybe, like, get him to react a little bit. And I start banging and banging really loud. And then he just eventually, like, looks back at me and then just walks off. Never saw him again. Never saw him again.
It's hard with those bigger deer.
Yeah, they're smart.
I feel that they're hard to call to.
Yeah.
The best you can hope for is to kind of pique their curiosity, you know, because sometimes they're just like, I'm not feeling it. And even if I was, what do I have to prove? You know? So
Exactly. And yeah, so after that, I was like, you know, calling can be fun, but, you know, at the end of the day, no matter what you're hunting, every tactic you use, like you said earlier, is just based off of your hunt, where you are, what you're doing, what the wind's doing, where they're going. Like, I really like to put myself in positions that I'm just there where they're gonna go.
Yep.
And
well, that's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And it's just I don't like to rely on a call. And you know, would I do it in the rut? Absolutely. I think it'd be fun. But if I can, you know, be absolutely unnoticed at all ways, you know, that's the best thing that can happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when they come into a call, they're also looking.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the point of the call. Like, they're curious. They're looking more than normal.
A lot of those bigger deer too, like they may try to come in downwind because that's what they're going to do as well. You know, they're not, right? They've survived a few seasons.
They're big for a reason.
They come in looking, you know, and then they're like, oh, that smells, you know, weird, or, you know, there's no
like
deer
shit.
here.
Yeah.
I can see this whole woodlot and there's no deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a situational thing that you can certainly get yourself in trouble on. You know, by calling at the wrong time or overdoing it. Like, sometimes I do it because it's fun, but largely it's like I just leave that stuff in the truck. Like, there's times in November where I'm like, yep, I'm taking the antlers today.
Yep.
But, you know, and even then, because it's like, well, if it's really slow around like 9:30, maybe I'll just hit them, you know, tickle them a little bit and then put them away, or I don't know. There's also something nostalgic for me, though, too, because since they're my uncle's antlers, I like to bring them sometimes. But
and that's what that to me is what hunting's about.
I think so.
Like, that's what it's not about. The big antlers are a bonus.
Yeah, they're awesome. We all love them.
The stories are a bonus, but like it's about that stuff that you like pass through generations.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Just like, that to me is what's like, that's what got me addicted. You know, the big deer are cool, but it's stuff like that that's just.
I agree.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, yeah, like that. I mean, you know, that man has been, you know, he's been gone for 19 years, and you know, I still carry some of the stuff. I still have a bone saw that was his, and you know, each fall that I take those antlers with me, like, that's kind of neat. Like, he still hunts on, right, with me.
Exactly.
So that's a neat thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, definitely where I find God is in those trees.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you can't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm excited for my buddy who's starting out. It's gonna be.
That is exciting.
It changed my life. Really, it did. Hunting did. It's crazy. But yeah, so that's the juice. You know, talking about tactics. As far as, you know, deer movement, where they're gonna be, stuff like that. Is there anything else you kind of wanted to hit on as far as deer behavior?
Not really as far as deer behavior. You know, I would never claim to be an expert, you know, as it were, as far as like knowing what a deer will do.
Okay, I'll claim it for you then.
Yeah.
I'll claim it for you.
There's times that I've guessed and I've guessed right. Excuse me. And there's times that I've guessed and it's been wrong. You know, and I think the best thing you can do is just continue to, you know, absorb information, both if you want to do it online, but then also, you know, the best hunter you can become is by spending as much time as you can doing it. You know, I'm at the spot now where, you know, with my 3 sons and 3 young sons, and, you know, then my older boy, you know, my time is a little bit more of a premium, so I can't put as much into the bow hunting side of it as I used to. But also, you know, it was very clear to me that the only way between me and becoming just a successful bow hunter was hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Time in stand, time scouting, time watching, learning, you know, and so that's really the best advice I could give somebody is just, you know, bow hunting especially. You know, I love to muzzleload. I have a special place in my heart for it, but because it's what I started out doing. But plus the white smoke and all that, it's just great. But with bow hunting, the best way that you can ever learn to do it, you can consume all the information, but is you spending that time out there making mistakes, you have successes, you keep striking the rock, finally it breaks.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, then you're like, oh, I haven't eaten a tag in 5 years, or, I've shot a decent animal and done this for so many years, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know how that happened. But it's just about time in and thinking about it, caring about it, as far as, it's not to the level of our faith or our families, but it's just one of those things. The more you do it, the better you're going to be at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would almost say, like, this is something I've heard many times from many people that I know, people that, that taught me hunting it through, YouTube and all that stuff. And I'd be interested to hear your perspective on it, is not necessarily trying to change what you learn, but almost to learn how to learn. You know what I mean? Like
that's fair.
To understand, what you're doing. Like, why am I not seeing deer? Well, let's look back on what you did.
Yes.
As small as that was probably the biggest thing that I learned this year was learning how to learn. To understand.
Because it's different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different thing. Like, it's not just, I learned X by taking this course.
Yeah.
It's like, you really have to be able to consume kind of the information that you're receiving, and it's not always really clear.
Yeah, exactly. It's not reading a notebook in front of you. It's reading the woods, understanding how to learn from what the woods are telling you.
It's woodsmanship, right?
Yeah.
The fairy dust, whatever. Like it's that thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can kind of get out of that as far as tactics and deer go. But I'd love to talk to you about some equipment stuff.
Sure.
I guess before I ask you any of my questions, is there anything that you have that you're like, this was a game changer? I won't go into the tree stand without this.
I ended up like, for me, like, I carry multiple linemen's belts. That's helped me feel much safer because, believe it or not, I actually have a healthy fear of heights.
Really? Okay.
Big time.
Yeah.
That's why I could never climb to 28 feet or what some of these people do.
Yeah.
Because I start, I'll swoon up there like, whoa. Like, it just feels like everything is like ant size, and I can't do it. But anyway, so for me to hunt more confidently, I take extra safety precautions. So that's one way for me to get around a weakness that I have.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, and everyone knows the more you hesitate, the more unsafe you actually are.
Exactly.
So for me to act with more confidence, to be safer when I'm high off the ground and it's in the middle of the night, I'm trying to hang a tree stand with a headlamp and with the stand on my back and the sticks on my pocket.
Yeah.
So I have a lineman's belt, and then I'll hook another one on too before I ever swing my foot over. So then even once the one is detached, I'm never unattached from the tree.
Yeah.
So I try to do that. I always wear harnessing. I feel that's been a game changer for me. It surprised me. I hunted the first year that I hunted without a harness, and I'm like, I don't know how anybody does this.
Yeah.
Because a couple of guys I talked to never did. But that's not really gearish. That's just a safety tip of the day. But after that, man, like, I've always been real simple on gear. I shot PSC bows. I like them just fine because I dialed it into where I could hit. And then, I shot Matthews bows. I like those as well. I shoot gold tip arrows. Heads, it could vary, right? Broadheads. I went through the rage phase, and then I went into fixed blade, whatever.
Okay. So let's dive into that.
I mean, I don't have a giant opinion anymore, but I'm down to talk about it. So.
Yeah, I have a really interesting, people get so mad over the broadhead debate, but I have a really interesting opinion on it. I'm more than willing to be changed on it. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you think kind of as far as broadheads go, and then I'll kind of tell you why I'm weird about broadheads.
So I shot rage for the first several years that I bow hunted, and I just destroyed deer with them. To be truthful, I mean, I shoulder hit deer even a couple of times that the arrow went into the fletchings and it was sticking out the other side, and the head was still fine. And
Wow.
it
With the
penetrated
rage.
shoulder bone with the rage. The reason why that I actually went away from them is because with all the hiking, they deploy so easily. So I would get to a tree stand, and every arrow in my quiver after being knocked around would be deployed. Every head would be deployed. And then you're like in the dark trying to without cutting the crap out of yourself.
Yep.
You know, screw on all these mini heads, holding the blades together and all this stuff. So I ended up just going to more like your, you know, just fixed blade,
Yeah.
you know, broadheads, which maybe they don't shoot quite as true at far, you know, long distances, but the farthest I ever shot a deer was 35 yards.
Yeah.
So I try to set up close to where my shots would be. 30 and in is like the sweet spot.
So you're broadhead tuning?
What's that?
You don't know what broadhead tuning is? It's
Yeah,
fine.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Do you
like
broadhead?
paper tune and all that.
Paper tune and all the broadhead tuning and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't do that much of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do it like once a year, and then when I'm like hitting, then all I do is just shoot.
Yep.
You know.
And you've got people that are like, you know, equipment nerds. I'm one of them, but I think at the end of the day, if you have I think you should practice just to make sure you know.
Oh, for sure.
And you know, if you shoot it at 30 yards, if that's where my field tips go, you're good. Then leave it be. You don't need to.
Well, I
tune
think
every
you
day.
need to shoot with your. Yeah, I mean, you obviously want to shoot some arrows too with the head that you're.
Yeah,
gonna
that's
be
what I mean by
hunting.
broadhead tuning.
Okay,
Just making
yeah,
sure everything's
absolutely.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, must.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, as long as you're making it. At the end of the day, with the broadhead conversation, the only thing that matters is your shot.
Correct.
If you're going to shoot him in the shoulder, if you're going to shoot him in the guts, if you're going to shoot him wherever, you know,
It's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough night.
It's tough for anything.
Yep.
But as far as, you know, I hear the argument all the time, and I would say it's like in the whitetail world, it's like 75% people will tell you mechanical, and 25% will say fixed, and that's generous. It might be, you know, 90-10, 80-20.
For sure.
And I myself, I run a mechanical. I'm going to stick with what I ran last year, which is, I don't know if you've heard about them, the G5 dead meats. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've actually taken several animals with dead meats.
Yeah, so
I think they're awesome.
I love them.
Yeah,
I think
great.
they're great. And
they don't deploy as easily, which I really like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I actually, the reason I'm a rage hater, actually.
Oh, really?
I'm
Okay.
not a fan
Yeah,
of
that's all
rage.
good.
And
I mean, the dead meats are a little bit better in my opinion
Yeah.
because they're a little sturdier.
Yeah.
To me.
So
But you can reuse a dead meat.
Yeah, and I
Rage, I've rarely been able to reuse one after I've shot.
Yeah. So I actually started this season with a rage, and you know, maybe I can tell you this story a different time. I want to go on and on because I could talk for 3 hours about this hunt I did. It's the best hunt of the year. It was a one-time permission on some prime land, and you know, if the landowner ever hears this, I've already told him a million times, but you know who you are. That one-time permission, like. I have more respect for that guy than a lot of guys. Like he's just one of those really solid dudes, and he let me do it. And you know, he hunts as well. And long story short, it was the prime of the rut. I got into a stand at 4 a.m. When it was black. I'm seeing the shadows moving around, whatever. And it actually got to be about an hour of straight daylight, and I'd seen nothing. And then it was like, boom. And I'm talking like I saw maybe 7 different bucks, and I couldn't, you know, with does it's hard to tell, but you know, actually probably it was only like 5. I saw more bucks than does.
That's awesome.
And
you were excited. You were in the chips.
I was, and I was probably close. I was probably closer to 35 feet in the air than 25. Like I was up there.
Oh.
And this tree
that's
stand's
great on the
shaking.
scent. Yeah. Yep.
And it was actually a very heavy wind, so the tree was shaking, but. Got my, you know, it's perfect. It's perfect conditions, anyways. And I ended up seeing this buck come out of nowhere that I watched for probably close to an hour and a half, locked on this doe, and waiting for him to cross this fence line. And you know, this deer, like these pictures, you know, that are all over everyone's grandma's house with the deer in the back. Like this is your typical Iowa buck. Like
just great big old tall tines.
Tall 10-point typical, like just a monster.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. And like just even his body was just thick, just huge. And I was shaking like a leaf in the wind, just waiting for this buck to come, and he finally does, and he comes up to, you know, 20 yards, and well, what I thought was 20 yards, it was 15 yards.
I mean, you know why that was, right? Because you're 35 feet in the air.
Yeah. I shot, right? And it was too high and a little too forward. And it was just a bad shot on my part. I'm not going to blame the broadhead.
Oh, it was rage.
But it was a rage.
Okay.
And it went and I was shooting 70 pounds at like 30 inches. And, you know, I was running those
That's good.
gold tips. You know, it was a good setup.
It's actually bull tips. That's what I'm talking about.
Very different than what I run now, but that arrow couldn't have stopped harder in that shoulder.
Ooh.
Like, didn't go anywhere.
That's tough.
And
Must have just been
it was just perfect.
Bad luck.
It was just perfectly terrible. And I like literally threw up in that tree stand. Like, I just felt so terrible. Like, I wasted such a great opportunity, but two, like, I left that big, beautiful deer to be injured. And we looked for hours, and then we went back the next day, and, like, no blood, no nothing.
Hopefully he made it, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he made it, and, even if he did, just, so sad to see a deer like
that.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you feel bad. I think, as hunters, I've never, I've wounded a couple animals, right? I mean, the people that say they've never wounded an animal, it's like you're lying or you haven't been hunting very long.
Yeah.
That's all. And I've felt terrible, and like many a sleepless night where you're just like, how did I do that? And then you just feel awful about it because, you want to give that animal, like, if you're going to hurt it, you want it to be a quick end, not running around out there. So I feel you on that. That's gut wrenching.
Yeah, gut wrenching for sure. And that's just how it was, and that was it. And I'll just realistically, I'll never use rage again. And
that's fair.
That cutting diameter is great, but this is where my argument for broadheads gets really weird. Is when it comes to having such a huge cutting diameter, people view that as great all the time, and I get it. It is cool. But from my opinion, is like it's kind of like a hollow tip bullet, right? Like, it's a parachute going through that deer's body. You have a lot lower chance of a pass through than if you're using something like a fixed blade.
Fair.
I've
passed through a lot of deer with a rage, but that's also, as you know, it's like when you get them in certain spots, it'll.
Yeah.
But
like, you hit a rib even or something. Like, I've seen, so Rage Hypodermic is the one I was using. And
I shot those a lot, for sure.
I've seen videos of just reflecting off the rib bone and shooting into the guts.
I think I've seen those.
Like, it's really weird. And it's just a lot going on, a lot that has a chance to fail. And at the end of the day, it's probably going to do the job. I'm just a nerd on my gear. And the way I think of it is just logistically, is like the bigger your cutting diameter, the higher chance you have of hitting something and slowing down. That's just a higher chance. Now, is that chance, 50%? No, it's like 10%. Like, it's a 10% chance it's going to go bad, right? And my job as a hunter, I feel, is to ethically kill a deer is
Correct.
to lower that percentage as much as I possibly can. At the end of the day,
I respect that.
Yeah. Is it going to make a huge difference? Probably not.
I mean, those dead meats, I'm sure they'll do the job just as well.
So the reason I like the dead meats is, one, because the smaller diameter, and two, because they're more sturdy. The higher penetration, it's going to act almost a lot like a fixed blade. It's just because it's so...
It does. It's more dense in the center.
And it's just a little bit bigger. It's just a tiny bit bigger cutting diameter than a fixed blade. But I would take even a fixed blade before a Rage, because even if you're getting 2 inches more diameter, and let's say it stops halfway, and you get a lung of 2 inches cut of diameter, that's a lot of cut. But how many more inches of cut are you going to have if you get a guaranteed pass through both shoulders?
Yeah. I mean, that's where it's at. Like, you could kill them with a field tip at that point if you're hitting them in the right spot, for sure.
So I'm willing to hear both sides of the argument, obviously, and I've been hunting for a year. I'm probably stupid. It's just in my mind, I think you're going to get more cut if you are guaranteed a pass through than you are, like, if you get more cutting diameter, but you only make it halfway through a deer.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I look at it, and, obviously I'm willing to have my mind changed. I'm not a pro. I don't claim to be.
I think it's fine that you have a big opinion about it. I mean, I've also shot some deer with a Rage, but because I shanked the shot, it went wrong. And so there's been times where I'm like, wow, this broadhead was damaged after just going through nothing but lung and no bone at all, and now I can't ever use it again.
Yeah.
Maybe that might not be the best, so. But, I mean, I also moved into the dead meats, and that's funny that you use those also. But they work great, too.
I ride or die by them.
Yeah,
I killed my deer with them. I won't tell the whole
I've also
story.
Shot a few deer with Carbon Express fixed blade broadheads from Walmart.
Really?
They killed them just as dead.
Yeah,
They hit right. I was pulling 70 pounds, 15 yards away.
Yep.
Right behind the shoulder, right in the, in the vitals, and, they went to the light. It's not something, but I was in a pinch. I needed it now. I don't have time to go out of town. And I took those, and I was able to get it done. But, that's not to say those are optimal. They're not.
Yeah.
But
that's a good point. That at the end of the day, all this talk, all these arguments, like if you hit the
Can you
deer,
shoot?
if you hit the deer in the right
Yes.
spot, you know,
it's like
anything will do it.
Yeah, cartridges. 22 long rifles kill more deer than anything else.
Yeah, really.
First of all, and
Yeah.
then maybe after that, sure, 30-30 or 30-06. But
Yeah.
that's because for a long time in this country, people could shoot them with a 22 long rifle.
Yeah.
So they did. So, but right, it's the same with us. With anything, it's just about the person. Same with swinging a bat. You have a really expensive bat, you have a cheapo bat. What's the person behind the bat?
That's a great analogy.
That's more that counts a little bit more. But I am a big believer in I'd get my aftermarket strings and the bow sights and the stabilizers and all this good jazz. It's just perfect for what I wanted. So it's not that I don't respect those things. I do.
Yeah.
I also just know that I've killed with, I also probably shot 12 deer with a $200 bow that I was in it for in total for $500 when you counted my arrows, and a whole bunch of deer went in the truck.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to, I was shooting a pile of arrows every week, and I was in the right spots, and I took good shots, and it worked out. And then later, right, you upgrade your equipment, and you're like, well, I can get more range out of this. And then you make some mistakes, and it's like, I'm just, you get a little overconfident, with
for sure
gear sometimes,
And I think that just like even baseball or basketball or whatever you want to use as an analogy is like confidence comes from work put in.
Correct.
And I've got my mom listens to this, so I'm gonna hear it from her. But my bow is well over, probably right at the $3,000 mark with everything, arrows, release, and everything sitting on it.
Good thing you bought it now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm young, I
can
do it now.
Correct.
And I got the rest of my life to worry about mortgages and stuff like that.
Yes, you do.
But at the end of the day, it's like if I'm not shooting my bow, what's it for?
Correct.
Nothing. Like nothing. I can know everything I want to know, but if I pull that bow back and I can't hold it or I can't hit where I'm putting my pin, it doesn't matter. And that's why like every single day I shoot my bow, or almost every single weekend I go to 3D competition.
That's awesome,
shoots
man.
And
you're just on fire about this stuff right now. I love that.
I literally live it. Like
it's exciting.
Like I took a month or two out of spring, and I still shot my bow every other day probably. But that was my time to rest.
You're gonna have to get new string soon. You know what I mean?
Well,
Stretch it out. Yeah.
Actually, that's a great segue to get into my actual official first sponsor. So,
really?
If you get back into shooting your bow, let me know.
Yep.
I can hook you up. But DNA Custom Bowstrings.
Oh, nice.
The guy Jason runs it. He is, an incredible guy that genuinely trusts his product. Like with all these businesses, everything that I use, like when you're spending $3,000, $4,000, all these different, like I want to give my money, my hard-earned money, go broke for people that I know care about me. And when I'm spending, like Victory Arrows is one of those.
Oh, Victory, nice.
One of those people that they send me a care package, a T-shirt, and
that's awesome.
The head of sales, Jason Bensick, calls me. He's like, "Hey, appreciate you using our product." Like stuff like that makes me okay with spending $470 on arrows. Like stuff like that.
I've heard good stuff about Victory Arrows.
Victory is the best of the best. Not even close. Like if you
not even close. That's a strong endorsement.
Not even close. Like
that's awesome.
It's not even. We won't get into it.
Okay, roger that.
We won't get into it. I could go all day. But DNA Custom Bowstrings is generally just one of those guys, and I need to reach back out to him to get all the specs that he told me about. But when I just bought new gas bowstrings.
Oh, nice.
And it took a while to really get them tuned. Like that's considered the number one on the market, right? Like that's what you order through Shields is where I got it. Basically, he was explaining to me the stretching process of those strings, and like there's a reason it's called custom bowstrings.
So they're pre-stretch, right?
Yeah, they're pre-stretched more than these top brands are. And
okay.
I honestly think that if the guy runs it by himself, but I honestly think that if the guy industrialized his business, he could easily be one of the best brands out there. And
that's great.
He's sending me my set of strings right now, and I told him to surprise me. But one of the most impressive things about this guy's strings is like the customization. Like I sent him a picture of my bow, and he's gonna send it back with some probably pretty crazy looking strings. Like it's gonna be really cool. So
nice.
For anyone listening that's getting into archery, like strings is one of the most important things. If you want to hold a tune If you want
I
your
think
bow
so too.
to shoot the same every single time, you need good strings. This is your guy, and at a very competitive price for the market.
Nice.
So,
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
man,
great.
I'll definitely give that a look.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to take into your episode with my endorsement, but really the guy
great.
does a great job. So
Strings are a deal breaker, you know. Sometimes they can twist, they can stretch,
Yep.
a lot of stuff. You know, I've had strings twist on me before too, and then when I went to pull, you know, my peep wasn't.
your peep's
And
all
it-
wrong.
yep,
That's
yep.
something I face all the time with the strings I have now.
Yeah.
But
It's frustrating, especially if there's an animal in front of you.
yeah,
But yeah, for sure, strings are important. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the whole thing, you know, it's kind of a bit of a black hole.
yeah, everything's a
but-
black hole in the bow.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, here's a good one I had for you. Back to strategy. This is in my notes. I forgot about it. You a morning guy or you an evening guy?
I'll hunt either one.
Either one?
Just like I don't care about the weather that much. Either.
Really? Yeah.
Nope. If I'm off work and it's hunting season and I have a tag, I'll be hunting.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you don't have a favorite.
I mean, I love mornings,
Okay, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I love watching.
but I'll hunt either one.
Yeah.
I've had the most kind of, you know, for me, right, for my success platform, whatever that is, right, not someone else's but mine.
Yeah.
Hunting my hunts, I've had kind of just wow success. You know, this deer just showed up, or you know, it just neat moments like I'm dragging a deer back to the truck 30 minutes after legal, or neat stuff like that kind of happen in the mornings. And I've shot some deer in the afternoon, but you know, typically I guess it's just worked out. Like I'll hunt both, but mornings are definitely my favorite. I love being in the outside when the world wakes up. You know, that's awesome. There's something cool about that.
That's my favorite part of it, is watching, you know, God's creation just bloom around you. As the light comes,
Correct.
the deer come, the birds come. That's really cool. But I wonder if your success in the mornings is tied to the fact that I find, and I've done a lot of research and deer movement and deer habits and things like that. I've found in most of my research and in my own hunting that in the mornings, like deer coming off of eating,
Yep.
coming back down to their
Correct.
bedding. And if you're in their bedding, like you're not going to spook them because they're not there.
Correct.
So you're getting in with nothing crazy happening, and they're coming in back to where they're comfortable.
But as luck would have it, a lot of the public lays out where the fields are up front.
So you're walking into where
So
they're
you have
eating.
to figure out another access. Because for years, right, like I'd be like, oh, I think I'm going to skirt this field, and I'll just kind of walk along the edge. And then I'd get back in by the bedding, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fixing to catch them coming back. Nothing. Had just crickets, right?
Yeah.
And then, right, I'm like, I am blowing these deer off of food on the way in to go hunt them in their beds, right? So that's one of the things early on, like 2 years deep. I'm like, I don't understand this, you know. And then it's like, well, now it's like I'll intentionally not hunt spots in the morning if I don't have a good access.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just like, why would I even be in here for?
It's a waste of time.
Unless it's the rut and it's the middle of the day, or if I know, hey, I am going to do a dark to dark sit.
Yeah.
In that case, I'm less concerned. But generally, right, that's not the case because other requirements and things. But yeah, so now I will hunt beds if I think I can get in there without busting out their food source.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things that hit my mind. I'm like, yeah, no wonder it works so well for you in the morning. You know, if you're finding that bedding, and I just gained a new property that I'm looking into hunting this year, and it might just be one of those things that I might just let it be till next year. I might just let some cameras soak and let it go till next year, just because there's great deer in there, and I don't know anything about it, and it's like I need to find some buck bedding, which I'm glad we've talked about that a little bit. You know, so. Actually, I was going to ask you this earlier. Now that I'm sidetracking into a sidetrack.
Yeah, that's fine.
So when you say you're trying to find these bedding areas and you're walking along fields and you're looking for trails, are you just following those trails back until you see, you know, matted down grass, or is there like you're just immediately going, okay, this spot is super thick and hilly by maybe a little bit of water? Like,
yeah. So usually I've tried to find something on Onyx that I've seen. Hey, you know, I got multiple terrain types, multiple terrain features, you know, water, tall grass, short grass, and then a woodlot or something like that.
Okay.
Right? Or, you know, all those things plus a ridge. plus a a valley. So anytime I can get like 3 different types of of a landscape
Just terrain,
rolling
just
together
stuff
in the
happening.
same area, that's dynamite.
Okay.
Period.
Huh. All right.
Because deer, like everybody says, but it's true. They're creatures of edge. They live on the edges of these terrains.
Yeah.
So constantly passing back and forth. So, once I learn that, and then so I'll see a spot on a map that I'm like, this looks good.
Yeah.
So then I'll go look at it. And I'll follow some trails. And that's like, oh, this spot's matted, that spot's matted. My experience, it's like bucks typically, just from what I've seen, I have seen some stand up from their beds and things like that. But they're not always going to be bedded right on the does unless they're breeding them.
Yeah.
It's usually like off to the side. It's the same reason why if you look on, on the top of and I learned this from listening to Dan Infault, right?
Yep.
And then checking it for myself. But you'll have a main trail on a ridge, and then you'll have a small trail on the military crest, which is right below the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And you'll see it on every ridge ever. You'll have a main deer trail and then a small one, because that deer, that buck or bucks, whatever, will run that because they don't skyline themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And they're right below. And also then they can go down there and the wind's blowing across and they know everything that's on that ridge, deer or not deer. They can go without ever exposing themselves on the top of the ridge.
Interesting.
So, but for me, like when I'm looking for like buck bedding, sometimes, right, like I feel that people say, well, that's a doe bed, that's a buck bed, just by how the grass is matted down. I think, good on you, I can't.
Yeah.
I look for like places like, I'm thinking of 2 specifically right now, where you can't reach that without giving away that you're there.
Yeah.
Because it's on a ridge, on the end of a ridge, and the wind will blow there from the backside, and then the deer is looking towards the ridge, so it knows everything.
Yeah.
It can smell behind it, and it can see in front of it.
Yeah. That's why I've heard this a lot, and I wonder what you're thinking about it as well. Is when I'm looking for bedding in properties, especially once it comes into, they're going to change all year. Things change. That's going to change. But generally, when you're looking at November and October, when those cold fronts are coming, it's a north wind normally, north or northwest wind. So they're going to be looking for, if I'm tracking with what you're saying, is south-facing slopes.
Correct.
So that they can
correct.
see everything happening that they can't smell, but they can smell everything that they can't
Correct.
see. Yeah, I think that's really, yeah.
That is the case.
Yeah,
That
okay.
is the truth.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And it just, certainly makes them harder to hunt. And, they just also don't move as much. They move as much, but not in, open,
Yeah.
Like open areas, like other deer will show themselves. There's a reason why big deer are not seen as much, as other deer, because they just don't expose themselves until usually it's dark or they're desperate.
Yeah. I can't give away my hunting spot, but I just had a bit of a revelation as far as I'm like,
good.
this wind thing. I'm like, I know exactly, something to do with my property.
Good.
I'm glad we had that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, by all means, make your note.
I love talking to guys that are just doing it, that are experienced like you. Like, this means a lot to me, as far as the podcast goes, but, hopefully there's people out there like me that can gain something from this. I
love talking hunting, so no problem. Yeah.
I'm learning. I really do appreciate it.
Someday we can sit down and talk about all the things I've messed up. So, and that is a long list.
That's what makes you a good hunter, is the fact that you're able to recognize the things you do wrong and move on.
Well,
yeah. It's the fact that you have those things, but you're able to still.
We got to make our mistakes and learn from them, just like life. So.
Yeah. Okay, so every podcast, I'm gonna ask 3 questions to the people. I've already asked you one. Is how did your first deer kill go?
Yep.
I'm gonna ask you number 2 and number 3 here. Okay, number 2 is gonna be, I want you to if you can, give me a story about maybe not your biggest deer, but your favorite deer you've killed. It can be your biggest deer, your favorite deer story as far as killing them goes. I know it's probably hard.
Yep. For me, and this is maybe the 6th or 7th or I don't know 8th. If people want to score deer, I never really have gotten into that a whole lot, but
Okay.
I just, deer, like the antlers, it's more like how hard did I work for it and such. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how I score them, right?
Yeah,
But,
wow.
So
That's a
I had
great
just
way to look at
started,
it.
I really started bow hunting. I was a couple years in and, just on fire about it, much like yourself. And I'd taken a forky and a doe, right? And so I was coming into my second season, and there was this spot that I was hunting. It's not a ravine, but really just a big draw. And I was hunting on the ground because I hadn't moved up in a tree stand yet because I was still too afraid of heights. And so I had the spot, and deer would come by often. And there was a night that, it started to get towards the end of October, and then all of a sudden, there was bucks following these does, this doe group that I'd been seeing regularly, except I was right in there. And I was about to draw my bow, and, for me, right, it was an awesome 8-pointer. I was on public, I was pumped, and I got busted, right? I drew at the wrong time, and those deer saw me. They were probably 30 yards away when I tried to pull because I thought they were about to go behind a tree, and they didn't. They bobbed. When I thought they were going to weave, they busted me.
Yeah.
So a week later, I gave it 5 to 7 days. I went back in there at the exact same spot, except this time I got much closer. I was probably 10 yards from where they were standing when I almost got a shot the previous time.
Okay.
This time they came from a different way. They came, actually, I thought I kept hearing something kind of over my left shoulder. And I just went to move my head, and I could see that I saw antlers go down, and I was like, oh,
Yep.
So there was a doe that was coming first, which, as you know, and you'll find out continually in the future, is usually the biggest problem for trying to get a shot at a buck.
If she blows, she goes.
Yep, it's not the buck, it's the doe, because she's going to be more cautious, you know. So I was able, this deer was probably, I think I counted 11 steps from the deer trail. I was slightly elevated, maybe 5-6 feet on a small knoll above where they were walking. And I was up against a tree, and I just bowed my head, and she passed by me. I had the wind. That was excellent. Their wind was blowing to me, so they didn't smell me. And then that deer, that 8-pointer, it was the neatest thing. He walked right there, and I could see him out of the corner of my eye with my eyes closed, praying for everything I was worth. This deer was so close, like I could hear him chewing on nuts. It was so cool.
Wow.
And there was a sapling, maybe 4 inches, 5 inches wide, very, very small.
Yeah.
But I thought when his head goes through that, past that sapling, I'm going to pull my bow. And he took a step, and I got lucky. Not only did his head pass, he turned it slightly to the left. I drew as quick as I could. He stopped. He raised his head, and I put one right in the vitals. And
man.
He ran, and he ran right through like these vines, man. It was like there was tunnels in these vines, and I had a heck of a time getting him out of there. I actually ended up calling him a guy that we both know, Micah. But
Micah,
yeah,
by the way, is an absolute bear of a human.
he's a beast. He's a beast. He's an animal. But I'm not sure, it's like I've taken some that I've been pretty proud of, and that one is still in my home, and its rack will fit inside of the racks that I have in the garage that never made it inside.
Yeah.
But that deer is one of my all-time favorite deer because I feel like that they got me a week previous. This deer is maybe 115 inches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And they got me a week earlier, and, I was just so close when I made the shot that I could hear it go through.
Wow.
And it just, oh man, you know. And, it's a neat animal. He tasted delicious. All my sons were not born at that point, but the ones that were, everybody was excited. Yeah. And I went ahead and got him shoulder mounted, and I think it's awesome. I love that deer.
Yeah,
I still have such great memories of that animal.
And that's the point of it. That's so you can remember.
It was just so cool, man. So cool.
Yeah.
So.
And you said something earlier that, like, honestly, it was, a little bit of almost a conviction towards me is, even as a new hunter or old hunter, any hunter, it's really easy to get caught up in that number and that score.
For sure.
And I loved what you said about this score to you is like how hard you worked for it.
For sure.
Like the memory that it's associated with that deer, again, like that's what it's about. So I love that, and I'm gonna try to like.
It's easier for me to be satisfied with it that way.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm for sure gonna try to repeat that and even do
and,
that
and,
in my
and
own.
I mean, and we all love good antlers.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so for sure.
But-
But yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah,
So.
cool. All right, then we got a third question, and we can
All right,
close
hit
it out
me.
of here. If you were to give any piece of advice to a first year or a second year hunter, someone just getting into it, private, public, whatever, what would it be?
Hunt as much as you can, regardless of the weather.
Awesome, short and sweet.
If it's the season and you have a tag in your pocket and you're not working or doing a family, thing, whatever, go hunting.
Yeah,
I've just seen it work out. Sideways rain, negative temperatures, falling in creeks, times that other people were like, you're crazy for being out there. But I'm like, not only am I learning, but occasionally it happens on those days because those animals are still out there on those days. So hunt as much as you can. Everybody says, when's the best time to go hunting? The answer is whenever you can.
Yeah. And when it's legal.
Yeah. Well, that goes with saying.
No, I'm just
Yes,
kidding.
of course.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I'm more than grateful for your time.
Yeah,
Hopefully
man.
we can do this
Anytime.
again. I hope you enjoyed it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. This has been a blast. Anytime
Yeah.
you want to set up a BS session or whatever,
Yeah.
just let me know.
Yeah.
I love talking hunting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Public Sterba, just the absolute killer, man. I appreciate it. Get outside, go shoot your bow, do your research, and get some good meat.
All right.
See you guys.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of the True North Bow Hunting Podcast. Again, greatly appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We should have another drop coming next Monday. My goal is to get you podcasts every single Monday to kind of kick off your week, give you something to listen to. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. You know what to do. Get out there. Go do the thing. Go shoot your bow. Go get ready for deer season. It's coming here before we know it. See you guys.